Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I am going to take you on the journey on how to learn how to read a yarn label. So I've got just a basic skein of Big Twist yarn and I'm going to teach you all about the yarn label and different kinds of yarn. So why don't we jump right in and get started? So before you begin any project, you want to know what kind of yarn it is that you're going to be working with. On any yarn label that you have, it should tell you what the makeup of the yarn is. And that's going to be incredibly important for whatever project that you're working on. Because say you're making pot holders, you don't want to use acrylic yarn. You want to use something that's a natural fiber, like a cotton yarn, because it's not going to melt when it gets hot. But there are two main types of yarn. You have your natural yarns and your synthetic yarns. So your naturals are going to be your wool, your bamboo, cotton, silk, or linen, whereas your synthetic are going to be acrylic, faux fur, polyester, nylons, and blended types of yarns. So that's one of your big things is you want to make sure that you're double checking the contents of your yarn. Next, we are going to move on to some of these symbols here. So on these symbols here that you've got, this will show you what size knitting needles that you would need or what is recommended for this project, or what size crochet hook. On here, it'll show you 18 stitches across with 24 rows. So roughly about what your gauge would be with this. And same with the crochet hook. You've got 13 single crochet with 14 rows. But that also depends on your tension as well and what kind of hook you use. Now, while this might recommend a 5mm hook, you may find that for whatever project that you're working on, you may need to go down a size or go up a size to be able to match your gauge for, especially if you're doing like a garment piece where the fit is very particular. But if you're just making a blanket, just going with the recommended size is pretty good. The next symbol we have on here is your weight symbol. So that's going to tell you the weight of the yarn. Yarn weight is measured by how many times it can be wrapped around a ruler in a 1-inch segment. So imagine we have a ruler. I don't actually have any wooden rulers, but if you were to wrap from the bottom all the way up to the 1-inch mark, depending on how many times around you can get that yarn to go around the ruler, will help determine its weight. So if you need, if you have a mystery yarn just laying around in your stash, you don't have the label anymore, that's a good way to at least find out what kind of weight yarn that it is. So that way you have an idea of what kind of projects that you might be able to use it for. Specifically, if you wanted to know for lace, it's 30 to 4 wraps per inch. For super fine, it's 14 to 30. For fine, it's 12 to 18. For light, it's 11 to 15. A medium is 9 to 12. Bulky is 6 to 9. Super bulky is 5 to 6. And jumbo is 1 to 4 times in an inch. Another key thing on your yarn label is going to be your lot number. So if you're working on a project where making sure that the shades of your yarn all match and look the same, this is going to be incredibly important because you want to make sure that those numbers are the same. Lot numbers are referenced to yarns that were all dyed within the same batch. So it's all using like the same dye chemical ratio. So that would have the best match. If you're working on a project where it doesn't necessarily matter, then it's okay. But if you are planning a project like a sweater or a top of some sort, you want to make sure that your lot numbers are the same because you don't want to work on the project, get it done, go outside, and then find out that the middle third of your project is off by a shade, and it's a noticeable difference. So moving on, our next thing is your care instructions. So these are incredibly important because this will help you determine how you need to care for whatever item that you make. So not all yarn labels, I would say, have it spelled out as neatly as Big Twist. I've seen yarns that only have those symbols, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what those symbols actually mean. But like on this label here in particular, it's machine washable, low iron. You don't want to bleach it. Don't tumble dry. Dry clean it if you can, and dry flat. So you're basically wanting to make sure that you're washing it in cool water. If you're ironing it, have it on a low temp. So it's just one of those that, you know, each yarn is going to be a little different, especially depending on what the makeup of the yarn it is itself. Like I know for wool in particular, you absolutely do not want to wash it in hot water, and you absolutely do not want to dry it in a hot dryer, because that's a very easy way to felt your wool, and that can just totally ruin your project. Another thing that you want to look at on your yarn label is how much yarn is actually in the skein. So for this big twist value in particular has 380 yards or 347 meters. So for projects where you need to have like the same dye lot, you want to make sure that you're getting enough yarn for your project. So it's really important to look at these measurements. And every brand and every style of yarn is going to be a little bit different. So if you look at this jumbo yarn here, while it looks like it's quite a bit of yarn, there is 97 yards or 87 meters, which isn't nearly the same length as the big twist. So while I don't have every single weight of yarn, I do have a few examples to show you just the different thicknesses. So I have this one here. This is a crochet thread. This was from a project that I had done. There's just some leftovers that I hadn't used up. But this one is a lace weight thread, and you can see just how thin it is. I mean, it's real tiny. If micro crochet is your thing, this is definitely the yarn to work with. Lace weight is good for like making doilies or coasters, more of your kind of delicate items. Then there is super fine, which I do have one of those. So I have a Darn Good Yarn label, and this one says that it is a super fine weight yarn. And again, you can see that it is real thin. This is good for making like socks, baby items, things that are a little more delicate. But yeah, again, it is a real thin yarn. I don't actually have any weight 2 yarn, but that still falls along the lines of like a sport or a baby yarn. So it's good for like light sweaters, baby items, socks, things of those nature. Then our weight 3 yarn is a light or a DK light worsted yarn. These are good for scarves or shawls. And I do have one of those here. Again, another Darn Good Yarn skein here. Let me see if I can pull a piece of it up. So you can see it's starting to get just a little bit thicker than some of the others. So I'll pull like this lace weight out. I mean, you can kind of see the difference there in the thickness. Not by much, but there is a noticeable difference in the feel of it. Our next one is a weight 4, which is going to be most of your acrylic yarns. So you can see it'd be more of your standard size yarns. You can pretty much make anything you want out of this size yarn. The next is the bulky, which I do have a bulky. I've got another Darn Good Yarn here, and you can see it's just a little bit bigger than the weight for the medium. So you can definitely see that we're going up in size. They are getting a little bit bigger. And that was our 5. Our 6, I don't actually have a 6 weight yarn, but that's going to be more along the lines of like your roving kind of yarns or your jumbo yarns. Those are good for making like rugs and outer clothing wear, because they're definitely much bigger, and they work up a lot quicker. And then we have our 7 weight, which is our jumbo. And I have a bunch of these. But you can see that this is jumbo. and it is much, much thicker than your average worsted weight yarn. But there you go. All right, well, I hope you learned something new today. Let me know down in the comment section below if you learned something new and what that thing was. So if you liked today's video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more content, go check out my channel, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified the next time that I upload a video. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.